All right. Good morning, everybody. So, a number of things to go over today for today's assignment. For those of you that had a peek at it, you'll see there's quite a few differences to what we're used to. Let's see. We will be reviewing our dim style and copy today. But our first new concept has to do with limits. So, as we've noticed, we have our sort of grid here in the back of CAD here, and we can turn that grid on and off by turning our grid on and off. But every so often, we're going to draw things that are going to be larger than our grid. And so in the past, I'll draw on my 0 layer here so you can see it. Good morning, Jackson. And, so in the past, if we had to draw something larger than our grid, we just went outside of our grid. Not a big deal, but sometimes it's going to be beneficial to enlarge our grid. So especially if we had something really large. You notice as you zoom out, eventually your grid just disappears because it's too dense to display. So the way we define our grid size is something called limits, and it's just the limits of our document. So we type in limits, and the first thing it asks us is to specify our lower left corner, and in this class for the entire year we're always just going to do 0 and 0. So 0 and 0, these are X and Y, and 0 and 0 is that point right there, and there's really no need to ever change that. Sure. So we did our command of limits, and at the bottom it's asking us to specify our lower left corner. And you'll notice right now it says 0, 0, which in parentheses, meaning that's our default setting. So we're just going to hit enter to accept that as our default setting. So we'll keep that at 0, 0. Now it's asking us to specify our upper right-hand corner. So this is the other end of our document. Good morning, Osiris. And so right now our limit is set to 10.5 by 8, so it's going 10.5 along the bottom and then 8 up. And we can do two things. We can either punch in any amount that we want, or a little easier is just to click on our screen here. So if I want my grid to go all the way up to here, all I have to do is click up there, and that has enlarged our grid. So for today's assignment, we have an architectural assignment. So just to review what we need to do there, we first go to Units, and we're going to change our units to architectural. And then for the precision for today, since we're dealing with extremely large objects, we're going to go to 0 and 0. So we're not going to care about fractions of inches at all. In fact, I think we're just dealing in feet. And then we're going to set those same settings in our dim style. So remember, our shortcut for dim style is just D. And we're going to modify our class style. So we hit our little gear here and go to Modify. And we're going to change our primary units here to architectural also, and our precision to 0, 0. So it just matches our units. So let's say we want to draw a rectangle. We want this rectangle to be 100 feet by, well, let's say 200 feet by 100 feet. So really big. So we'll go 200 feet, tab over, and 100 feet. And all I have is just one corner here. I really have no idea. I can't see my whole shape at all. So what's a command I can do to punch in and see my entire shape? We're using this all the time. Z for zoom, and I like to do E for extents, which will take you all the way out to everything that you've drawn, brings everything into view. So here's our rectangle, and my first problem is I don't see my grid at all. What's up with my grid? And I turn my grid, I'm trying to show my grid, and it's not showing me my grid. So why is it not showing me my grid?
You gotta finish the steps.
After what? My grid is way too dense to display. Is usually what CAD will tell you. So, not saying anything. I'd have to zoom in really close to see my grid. So I'm going to set my limits here. And I'll keep it at 0, 0 here at the bottom. And then I'm just going to click way up here on the other side of my rectangle here. And now what I need to do is change some of my grid settings so they actually show. And so the way we do that is right-click on our grid, toggle icon here, and it'll pull up our snap and grid settings. And for this object, why don't we go 1 foot? So I'm telling CAD that I want it to draw my grid. And I want there to be lines every 1 foot. So before we had it like every, I don't know, 1/4 inch or something. So now I'll keep it 1 foot, and I got to set both my snapping, which we really don't use too much anymore, but I'll still set it to match my grid spacing. And then CAD, the newer version of CAD that we're using, has major lines and minor lines. So basically every foot is a minor line, and then every 5 feet, it's going to give me a little larger line. So I'll show you how I got to this. I went and I right-clicked on my grid display icon. So the same icon that toggles the grid on and off. I just right-clicked on that and went to settings. So now we can see that I can see my grid again. And each one of these lines here is now 1 foot, and our major, slightly more bold lines would be 5 foot segments. All right, so far so good. So now I go and I decide, okay, it's time to dimension this. So I'm going to do a linear dimension here. I go and I place that there. Uh-oh, that doesn't look right. What's going on here? And I got to zoom way in, and I notice, hey, there's my 200 feet. But that's way too small. I can't see that. So we need to enlarge our dimensions. And the easiest way to do that is we're going to hit D for dimension. We're going to go to modify. And normally we could go through and we could edit all of these things here. So for example, these are the sizes of our arrows. So right now we didn't see our arrows. Our arrows are set at 1/4 of an inch. Well, when we're looking at an object that's 200 feet, that's way too small. So we could go in and edit all of these, but a slightly faster way is we go to our Fit tab, and we can just do a universal scale of. And sometimes this just takes a little trial and error, but I'm going to try a scale of 100 and see what that gets me. There we go. So it's still a little small, but I'm starting to actually see my number, so that's a good sign. I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to hit that same thing, except this time I'm going to go 400. Might be a little big, but see how that looks. There we go. That looks like how we normally look at our objects. So our dimension should be easy to read and proportional to the objects that we're drawing. All right. Yes.
Can you zoom out to make the whole big shape in your view?
If you go Z enter and E enter, that'll zoom you all the way up. All right, so one other thing, or two other things we need to know for today. Let's say I want to draw a center line. So I'll go into my center layer, and I'll find my center here. I'll just go all the way across here. So I have a center line, but my center line isn't dashed like it usually is. It's kind of odd. What's up with that? And I notice if I zoom really, really close, there it is. But as I zoom out, it starts to just become solid again. So what we need to do is we need to change the scale of our line. And the line type here was called center is the type of our line type, and we need to scale our line type. So the command for that is line type scale, or LT scale, or the shortcut for that is LTS. Here's another command we'll be using quite a bit over the next few weeks. So LTS, line type scale, and this is a little bit more trial and error, but 400 seemed to work pretty well for our dimensions, so I'll try 400 here and see what happens. That looks pretty good. So we changed our line type scale to be 400%, and actually 400 times larger. So what is that? 40,000% or something. But so we went to a factor of 400, and we can see now we can see the dashes in our line for our line type. All right, and then our last new command I want to introduce to you, and I think some of you have already played with this a little bit, but every so often we need to rotate an object. So say I want to take this object here and I want to kind of make a windmill or something. It'd be kind of cool. So I'm going to first, just for fun, run my fillet command. I'm going to set a radius, and my radius I'll make 50 feet. And I'll do M for multiple here. So I'm going to round this. Oh, didn't have my trim set to trim. So I've just rounded my edges here a little bit. I'm going to zoom out and say I want to make another one of these. So I'm going to hit my select everything here, and I'm doing CO for copy. I'm just going to make another one of these and put it underneath here. And then I want to flip the whole thing around. I want to rotate it. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to delete my dimension. I don't really need that anymore. So I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to type in rotate. And then just like many of these other kind of commands, it's going to ask me for a base point, which is the point that it's going to pivot on. So I'm going to pick this point right here. I'm going to flip this around 180 degrees. I'll select it again here. I'll hit M for move. I'm just going to pin this right here. So I sort of have two petals of my windmill rose kind of thing. Grabbing a Kleenex box from up there. Can you reach that one? Yeah. And then I want to do two more of these. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to hit rotate again. I'm going to select my base point, which will be the middle point here. And then I can do, you notice as I move my mouse around, I can do sort of a free rotate here. It's like a windmill. Or looking at the bottom, you can see we have a couple other options. Now, if I just hit rotate right now at, say, 90 degrees, it'll rotate everything, but it's going to erase my original object. So another command we can do is I'm going to hit rotate. I'll select my base point. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit C for copy. What that'll do is keep my first object. And then I'll punch in 90 degrees. And it has my modified one here. So that is the rotate command. So today we went over limits was the first command. That was to set the limits of our document, just kind of the edges of it, even though we can go beyond that, but that's as far as our grid will display. We talked about how to adjust our grid settings, so we can work with different scales and stuff with our settings. We can set our grids to different sizes. We talked about how to adjust our dim style so we can see our dimensions when we're working with larger scaled projects. We talked about setting our line type scale, LTS, so we can see our line types with different size objects. And we talked about rotate. So any questions on any of those items? Very good.
Oh, that's down there.